Welcome back, everybody, to the Today's Market Explained video and podcast series. We do market commentaries, as everyone knows, but we also have conversations with really important players in new industries and new trends and things regarding the business world that we find are fascinating. And today we're lucky enough to have on our call leading entrepreneurs in what I think is now the entrepreneur city, Nashville. We have Jane Allen. Jane is with us from the Entrepreneur Center in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Well, good. Well, we talked earlier that we've done a lot of work with Nashville in the last couple of years and been down there many times for conferences. So Jane, tell us about your group, and then let's hear about what's going on in Nashville.
Sure. I lead a nonprofit. It was started in Nashville almost 12 years ago, so a little bit ahead of its time. And it was really birthed when successful business people and entrepreneurs came together and decided we need a front door for entrepreneurship, because Nashville, a part of its tapestry, and one of the things that I think makes it such a special city, is it really is a city built and full of entrepreneurs, people who are always innovating and looking at new ways to do things and launching businesses from here. And so, that was the beginning of this. It was started with the Chamber of Commerce and then was spun out and started in a small building down on Broadway, and then opened up this amazing space. At the time, it was old trolley barns, and we were in a part of town that really wasn't very developed, and now it is all developed. And so we have really amazing space, and we work with entrepreneurs in our community and some from outside of our community if they're in the healthcare industry, and really just work to connect them to resources that help them on their roads to success.
Fascinating. So Jane, in addition to recently coming, like many people have, to Nashville, we've been coming to Nashville and Tennessee for client visits for a long time. And I can remember, there was Broadway, there was honky tonks and music joints, but there wasn't much else. You go a block one way or a block the other way, it wasn't full of buildings and hotels and everything. There's a dream hotel there now. There's so many things happening. How did this all happen? How did Nashville develop? And then how did your center develop out of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of studies done on that. Having lived here since 1994, I actually was married to someone that picked Nashville as the it city. He was at Wharton getting his MBA, and he received the Business Journal from several cities and studied several cities, and really believed Nashville was going to be the city that had explosive growth. And one reason was because it had a diverse economy. It isn't just healthcare, and it isn't, like some cities are just banking. And so he felt, therefore, it would continue its growth. It also had really strong political leaders. We had a gentleman at that time named Phil Bredesen, who was running for mayor, and he was a very successful entrepreneur. And so we've had a really strong political leaders that are business people. We can work with the local and state governments collaboratively. And then the chamber was very much involved with doing these 10-year visibility vision studies, and they'd work with CEOs and entrepreneurs in our community to what do we want Nashville to be over the next 10, 20, and 30 years, and then let's put the strategy to get there. So I say what we're experiencing isn't random at all. It was very strategic. And I used to call us the best kept secret in the country. We had a business. We could live anywhere in the country we wanted to, and we always chose to live here. And it's been found as more and more flights are direct versus having to connect through Chicago or Atlanta. And, which used to be a problem, whereas now it's not that big of a problem. But no, it's a fabulous city in which to live and raise families and, build and grow thriving businesses.
It really is. And a lot of great new hotels. And I think the Titans are only playing in Nashville now, or they don't do Memphis anymore, right?
Right. No, they've been here for several years. And
Yeah.
so they are here. And, that definitely brings a lot of visibility to our city. This show Nashville brought a lot of visibility to our city. So, I know my son's wanting to come home for a weekend and was just outraged at the cost of the airline tickets to come to Nashville for a weekend. So,
Right.
that's the downside. But
Right.
that being said, there's just a lot of growth and a lot of vibrancy.
So you mentioned a little bit about this, and it has to do with maybe some of the local leaders and a mindset. But why Nashville? I mean, there's Knoxville, there's Lexington, Kentucky. I mean, there's a lot of great small cities in the kind of the mid South region,
Mhm.
if you will. So what did Nashville have in the tank that the others didn't have? I mean, Knoxville has UT, right?
Mhm.
Maybe that's kind of dominating that, but
Mhm.
um, what any more insight on that?
I can't speak to what other cities don't have. I can only speak
Huh?
to what we do. We have
Yeah.
a strong academic environment. We have, several universities in our town. We have a strong privatization in healthcare and healthcare capital for service businesses in the healthcare industry. We have a strong music, creative scene. And then we have, like I said, collaborative leadership in the political realm as well. And
Hmm.
then combine that with the entrepreneurial spirit of this community. And I'm sure there are other variables as well. But I think that those mixed together and having the right people in the right place at the right time seems to have done wonders for our city and hopefully will continue to do so as we look forward.
Nice. Well, and then earlier, Jane, you mentioned healthcare, and I think
Mhm.
I think a lot of major cities in states that are dominated by a lot of rural area,
Mhm.
healthcare is a big thing because people will go to the major cities for healthcare,
Mhm.
and so that's always been something that Nashville has been good at. And you say it's still growing. Healthcare is still growing as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that's an industry that is continuing to grow and transform, especially having gone through the last 2 years. And so we see a lot of,
For sure.
we work with entrepreneurs, and so people who are really trying to be forward thinking and solve problems. And so we see the innovation that's happening in the industry, and it's continuing to go. We just finished our telehealth academy, and we had people from all over the country here and speakers from all over the country that participated as they're looking at, how does it really work, and is it really going to be here, to stay, and then what comes next.
Fabulous. So, but then our discussion led to it's really beyond healthcare, right? So healthcare is great. It's been a stable. It's still growing. But give us insight on there's music, I suspect, but what other industries are really cranking in Nashville?
Yeah, we have retail. And so you do have retail industries that are here. We have a lot of hospitality
Uh-huh.
industries here. And then we have a lot of commercial real estate of development that is happening here. I think you may have
Okay.
talked to someone that may have been one of the visionaries.
We did
Um,
last
and so,
year.
yeah. And so again, there's just a lot of commercial development. There's a lot of hospitality, retail, supply chain. We just have, and then tech. I mean, tech is definitely an industry, especially as we have new companies coming in that bring a lot of tech employees. We just see that continuing to grow and that, creating opportunities for innovation in the tech industry as well.
So you have a lot of companies coming as well,
Mhm.
and which is great. Like what are some of the companies that have come recently? If you can recall?
Yeah, well, Amazon has
Oh,
come, and then Oracle is moving here.
great.
And then EY has opened a really big presence here. And then, there's a lot of others, but those are the ones that, are on top of mind.
Stand out. Okay, so now let's talk about the entrepreneur space, the small entrepreneur, not the corporation.
Mhm.
How does that all develop? Do you have an incubator? I mean, give us a sense of what's happening on the entrepreneur side then.
Yeah.
And
No, I mean, again, I think that on our website, which is ec.co, we have a diagram because it's a diagram of an entrepreneur and the life journey of an entrepreneur. And so we start in phase one, and that is a program that really allows you to decide whether you should quit your day job. Is this something that you could really support yourself doing? What's the difference between a hobby and a business?
Right.
And even if it's the, greatest passion of your life, how is it going to generate revenue enough? Do people value it enough, pay enough so you have profitability? And so we help them on that. So when they graduate, they should have a well-defined business plan and have a really good understanding of what the opportunities are. And they can decide to agree or disagree and continue on. We aren't there to tell anyone they shouldn't do it, but we're there to try to help them on that journey to make educated and well-informed decisions. And so that's really where we start. There are other organizations that might start, especially with our academic institutions, with ideas and putting the idea, in before you even think it's a business. And so, but we're coming in where, all right, it's a founder and they think they have a business. And so, and then we move through the life cycle, so to speak. And so we are not the startup center, we're actually the entrepreneur center. And that is a difference. And so we actually work through to, we have founders that are Black and Latinx, and we work with them and across the state and try to make sure we're connecting them to resources to help them on their journey, especially those that are looking to get into the phase 2, which is high growth, high scale potential. And then we have programs for high growth, high scale. And that's where healthcare comes into play. We have music. But we also have industry agnostic, anyone local. So you may have everything from an artificial intelligence company to a behavioral analytics company to, the company that did the light show at the NCAA Final Four tournament is one of our founders in our program right now. And so it really is working with those founders on how can you grow and scale and making sure they're able to do that and connecting them to the resources they need. And then we have a lot of alumni. And so a lot of those fall into that phase 3, in that we're still building our company. We're still growing. We may have moved from Series A to Series B. We're trying to figure out what's next. And so we might have a panel discussion on what is a succession plan and do you have one? Or, what is an investment banker and why would you need one? Or what are different types of exits and things like that. And then phase 4 are for founders who have had exits and they now have time and money to pay it forward. And that was the original intent of this organization, which is one reason it is a nonprofit, so that successful business people and entrepreneurs give time and money to help the next generation. And so we have a group, and then we'll bring in speakers on things that they care about. And then we also bring in some of our program participants or members in our community to talk about what keeps them awake at night. So it creates this organic blend, and it's just so powerful to watch and experience. And so that really is what we do. And it's pretty meaningful and impactful.
It sounds interesting. The fact that you use a nonprofit structure, it really kind of highlights the kind of selfless approach. Like the organization isn't trying to feather bed itself; it's trying to help others.
Absolutely.
Which is great.
Absolutely.
How do you fund the nonprofit chain?
We have individual donors. We have partnerships with our business community. And then we have some money that come from the local and state government.
Okay. Oh, so there is some appropriation from them, but that could go away. You never know, right? So
yes, we don't
careful.
depend on that at all.
Yeah,
so,
I would think.
Again.
Well, good. So you have lots of training. So, besides the fact that it's a good idea and everything, how did this idea come to you and your organization in Nashville? Because I don't think every city has this. I don't think every city has an entrepreneur center. How did this all develop?
Well, the reality is when this developed, I was an entrepreneur, so I wasn't involved in the development of it at all. But I can tell you, based on my experience, when I started our company, I just cold called a bunch of people in this town. And I didn't know what an entrepreneur was, but I knew they were building really good businesses and they were where I wanted to go. And I called them, and every single person met with me and every single person gave me input. And so I think that is something that just permeates the city. And so those people came together to say, we really need a front door, because more and more people are going into business and starting businesses, and we need a place where any entrepreneur can go to get connected to what they need. And that will help our economy, that will help our community, and that will help bring a little bit of streamline instead of, oh, well, I happen to know someone, I can call them. It's no, anybody can come in and we can connect them to who they need.
Nice. So, and you have a board of directors, I'm assuming.
We do. We do.
So who makes up your board?
Business leaders and entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, either typically they're in phase 3 or phase 4, because again, they're really busy in phase 1 and phase 2. And so while we might have a couple of those, I try to leave them to be able to pour all of their energy into their business and their family. And so, but we do have phase 3 and phase 4 entrepreneurs on our board. And then we also have some business executives in our community.
Very good.
Mhm.
So many cities have, like I mentioned earlier, incubators where there's like a location
Mhm.
where entrepreneurs who are starting in a shoestring can kind of work with other entrepreneurs at card tables, even
Mhm.
in warehouses and things like that. Do you have something like that?
We do. We are actually in what was at one time the trolley barn in Nashville. And
That's
so it was
great.
converted again. The first CEO of our organization is a gentleman named Michael Burcham, and Michael was a visionary. And he could see this old trolley barn as really cool space.
Yeah.
And it is, and it's really cool space. And so we definitely have space. And we have anyone that I want to rent a chair. Um, or I want to rent a desk, or I need 3 desks, or, and then they have access to rooms, they have access to the broadcast studio, they have access to conference room, learning center. And so it really is a very well laid out space for the founders in our community.
Nice. Well, and we've learned in Chicago that that alone won't solve a problem for a business that's not going to work,
That's
but it
right.
certainly can help
Mhm.
as you kind of work the resources together.
Mhm.
Um, Very good. So we talked healthcare. We talked a little bit about hospitality. We talked a little
Mhm.
bit about music. What are of the companies that have sprung up in Nashville in the last couple of years? What is the dominant theme now of the new companies? It's not healthcare anymore, right? It's other things.
Well, I mean, it still is healthcare because you have, I mean, a lot of, as I'm sure you know, and 1871 is a great place there in
Right?
Chicago.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I think as a lot of founders come out of industries in which they work and they
Right.
see solutions that might not exist. And so healthcare will always be dominant in Nashville as long as it is a dominant industry in our community. And so, but, everything that we are seeing for the most part is tech. It's either tech enabled or it's a tech business. And most of those that we work with have that at its core. Um,
Okay. Well, do you have any examples of interesting companies that you want to share with us today?
well, I mean, I think one of them I alluded to earlier, which is Q Audio.
Okay.
And Q Audio, again, they were starting in the music business and then COVID hit. And
Okay.
so a large part of what we did during COVID is we kept our doors open. And we felt that we were an essential business because founders needed a place to come, a place to work, and needed a little bit of camaraderie and
Yeah.
accountability. And so they pivoted and moved into sports. And then they did get and they're with several NFL teams now, and they also, and so the Titans worked with them, the Predators worked with them, and now they've spread throughout a lot of sports team. And then, like I said earlier, they got the Final Four, and now now they have other creations coming, and they just won Universal's Global Pitch Competition for one of their other creations, and so they're just this fun company that brings such energy and excitement, and they're fabulous and fabulous founders. So
Nice.
that would be one that we work with. It's really
Uh,
great.
nice. Any others come to mind?
There's several. It's just those aren't as easy to explain necessarily. I mean, we have one that is Blue Chip Analytics, and it
Okay.
really is an analytics company that's trying to anticipate, um, you know, and they work a lot with the NFL
Mhm.
as well as other organizations, and now they're spreading into other organizations, but anticipating how you can put people, get them set up for success would be the best way to say it. And a former NFL player owns that company and works with us, and we work with him. And it's he's a great founder as well. All of them are. I mean, it's hard because once I start listing, and then but we are just blessed to be able to work with really cool people that much cooler than me that are out there seeing things and solving things that some of us don't even know exist. And then some of them even bring in a little fun and joy to it as well.
Nice. Well, from my experience, and I've been involved with that 1871 that you mentioned in
Hmm.
Chicago, that entrepreneurs can operate anywhere.
Hmm.
Taxes are an issue, regulations are an issue, but they can't operate even in high tax, low growth states like Illinois, California, and New York.
Yeah,
But if they're really going to be long term, they probably need better terms and taxes and regulation. And you would share with us that that's really a positive thing in Tennessee, isn't it?
it is.
Where the tax policy is quite favorable and regulation. You want to talk a little bit about that?
You know what? I don't. I mean, we don't, as a 501(c)(3), we are not involved in lobbying at all.
Uh,
And, we have an organization within our state called Launch Tennessee, and
uh,
they are actually the organization that actually looks at the policies and the regulations and lobby. And so we really are not involved in that, so that we are free to really just pour into the founders that we work with
to work
day in
with
and
what
day
it
out.
is.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it is very favorable. That's really
Hmm.
great.
Hmm.
Um, okay, well, good. To, it's Nashville, so we have to talk about the music industry.
Hmm.
As far as entrepreneurial activity there, that's like one of the ultimate, right?
Hmm.
One person, a lady or a gal with a guitar,
Hmm.
at one of the joints on Broadway. Is there still a lot of growth in that industry as well now?
It's huge. Yes.
Yeah.
The creative community here continues to grow. I think it attracts those that are on the way up, but also those that are there. And so we have a lot of people, not just country, but different genres in music that choose to live here. And so there is just this creative community where they can get together and write and record. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's great.
Mhm.
Well, and then as a result of the growth of everything, entrepreneurship and business in Nashville, many of the communities around, like Franklin and others that are used to be very small communities, have grown dramatically as well, haven't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. No, the
Well, great.
state as a whole is really, um, you know, it's growing.
On fire. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's exciting. As we mentioned, we heard more about the real estate markets beforehand, and now the business and entrepreneur environment really
Mhm.
is on fire. So that's really great.
Mhm.
Um, so Jane, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us today about entrepreneurship in Nashville? Sounds like we got a pretty good review of it, but is there any other messages you'd like to send to our listeners?
No, I mean, I think we just work to try to make Nashville the best place to start and grow a business. And we do that by connecting entrepreneurs to the resources they need. As I might have mentioned even earlier, one of our missions, one is for successful business people and founders to give time and money to help the next generation. And the other is to capture the story of the Nashville entrepreneur. And so we actually have this Circle Back podcast, and we're recording season 3 right now. But for any entrepreneur, no matter where you're located, it's worth a listen because even, I'm a phase 4 entrepreneur, but as I listen to these other founders, I learn something. And there's just kernels of knowledge and wisdom in every person that we have talked with. And it's a narrative podcast. And 30 to 40 minutes at most, but it is so worth the listen. For
Nice.
anybody that studies entrepreneurship or or is an entrepreneur, it really is. I just feel really fortunate that we're able to create this content and then have it available to anyone that would want to listen to it.
Where can we access it, Jane?
Yeah, it's on our website, which is www.ec.co, and then it's circle back. Because
Okay.
again, it's people who's taken the time to circle back and talk about their journey and things that they've learned, sometimes the hard way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I also see it's available on Apple
Yes.
iTunes as
Yes, it
well.
is. Yes,
All right.
thank you. Yes,
So
anywhere you can listen to a podcast.
that's great. Well, that's great. Well, Jane, this has really been fascinating. It seems like, we go through the decades and certain cities are really on fire at various times. And boy, oh boy, Nashville really is it.
It
It's
is.
it's all that. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
And for our listeners, it's not all about healthcare and only music. There's a lot more going on in Nashville. Real estate's growing. People want to be in Tennessee, and they're
Mhm.
leaving the big, expensive, heavily taxed, heavily regulated states up in the north and coming to
Mhm.
really fun places like Nashville. So, and it's got to be exciting to be one of the leaders of the entrepreneur culture there, Jane. So, congratulations on all your success and leading with all the entrepreneurs.
No, thank you. I so appreciate your interest in our city and our organization.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Jane, for being with us, and
Uh-huh.
I think we'll leave it there.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for being with us today on the today's Market Explained. Really fascinating. Everybody book your flights to Nashville now. There's a lot to do there. If you are unhappy with your situation, go to Nashville and start a company, and
Yep.
Jane will help you out.
Come to the EC. That's exactly.
You
Any
got it.
entrepreneur.
Any entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you, Jane.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Thanks, everybody. We'll be back with another episode very shortly here on the Today's Market Explained, a 4-star podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.